morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to finally take a look at the contents of that new Trader's Toolkit. Now, this is coming out this coming Friday, so just a couple of days' time. And do remember I shared with you the news just a couple of days ago. It is looking like this is going to be facing some delays in Europe. From what I'm hearing, it does seem to be mainland Europe more so than the UK. But just a quick heads up to all you European viewers out there. This might be slightly delayed for some of you. I apologise, but it's not my decision. If it was up to me, I'd release it early. But the good news is we do finally have confirmation of exactly what is in the Trader's Toolkit, and that comes from the lovely Alpha Tyrant TCG over on Facebook, who has gone and been very nice and shared the contents with us, because of course we are at that stage now where these products, they're out there. They're literally being sent out to stores. They are out and about. And essentially, we always knew what was going to be in them. We were told when they were revealed. We were given a sell sheet, and we were told that we were going to have more than 50 useful trainer cards, including 2 Crobat V, more than 100 energy, including special energy, 4 booster packs, 65 sleeves, a deck builder's guide, a rulebook, 7 tournament legal dice, 2 condition markers, and a code card. What is important is that we now know which of these trainer cards are in there, and to put it very bluntly, if you are new to the Pokemon trading card game, or if you've not been keeping up with recent sets, if you need staples to make decks, buy this kit. It's brilliant. Now, if you are a very seasoned player who has kept up with all the releases and you've got all your decks and all your staples and all of that, there's still some exclusive promos we'll get to in a moment. But if you don't have a fully stocked binder, call it what you will, for competitive play, this is basically the promise of this kit, is that it's going to help you get ready to play competitively. And put very bluntly, this fulfills that promise. And one question I get asked quite a lot is, hey Wassy, how do I get into competitive Pokemon playing? And I've already said this to a couple people in the past couple of weeks, and I'll be saying it to a lot more as we go by. If you want to get into competitive Pokemon TCG playing, buy the Trainer's Toolkit. It is brilliant, and I for one just hope that the Pokemon Company International keep making stuff like this. Products like this are phenomenal for newer players, casual players, lapsed players, whatever. They are exactly the kind of thing we need to see released more and more and more. So shout out to Pokemon for making this product, because this product is awesome. So, we've mentioned them before, but just very quickly, yes, you do get 2 copies of Crobat. Yes, it is alternate art Crobat. It is not the one we saw in Darkness Ablaze and then reprinted with a different set symbol in Shining Fates. It is a brand new Crobat with brand new artwork, which seems very fun to me. It's got that Dark Asset ability. When you play it from your hand to your bench, you draw until you got 6 cards in your hand. In about a month's time, we are going to hit rotation. When we hit rotation, the Dedenne GX is going to rotate out. And at that point, this is basically your draw engine. At the moment, you can choose between Dedenne or Crobat. As soon as Dedenne goes, it's Crobat. You need this. Remember, there is an exclusive Miss Magius in the set. It's not particularly great, I'll be honest with you. 2 energy, instant KO if there are exactly 9 damage counters on it. It's fine, it's not great. Do remember that these cards are going to rotate out about 2 weeks after we get them. And then we've got Sabrina and Bryson, which is also going to rotate out about 2 weeks after it comes out. But it's really, really good in adding speed and consistency to Zacian ADP decks. So it is a genuinely, legitimately viable card. Lets you search your deck for 2 basic energy, and you'll need 2 different ones for ADP. And then you may discard 5 other cards from your hand and search for up to 3 Pokemon of different types. But you've got Zacian ADP, and then you've got Crobat and Dedenne for draw. And yeah, Sabrina and Bryson makes that deck a lot better. And then we do also have the sleeves. We took a quick look at the sleeves before. I have nothing really to add, but, here are the sleeves. There we go. But now we know all the other cards, so let's go through and have a look. So in terms of supporter cards, we got 2 copies of Cheryl. That is the one that completely heals your evolution Pokemon at the cost of all the energy on them. It is seeing a whole bunch of play in a whole bunch of VMAX decks. It's really good. 2 copies of Boss's Orders Lysander. This is an absolute staple in every single deck. You'll probably need 3 or 4 eventually, but it gusts a Pokemon from the bench to the active. It's absolutely amazing. It's played in every deck. This is the Lysander version, not Giovanni, but as far as I'm concerned, that's the better one. 2 copies of Birdkeeper. It's a switch that draws you 3 cards. It is not a staple in every deck, but it is played in a lot of decks. A lot of decks play Birdkeeper, especially ones that have to rely on lots of switching and things of that nature. Make no mistake about it, Birdkeeper is not for every deck, but it is phenomenal for the ones it fits in. But if you want cards for every deck, we got 2 copies of Marnie. Both players shuffle the hand, put them on the bottom of the deck. Whoever played it gets 5 cards, the other player gets 4. Now, admittedly, the other player will get a 5th at the beginning of their next turn, but that's not quite the same. It's a bit of disruption, it's a bit of shuffle draw. It is played in every deck. And then we've got Professor's Research, which is discard your hand, draw 7. The fastest, most aggressive draw supporter in the game right now. And again, this is a staple in every deck. Very rarely you'll get some decks that want all shuffle draw because there's cards they really don't want to discard. But outside of that, it is in every deck. Now, these are 2 copies. All of these, incidentally, are 2 copies. Every single card I'm showing you here, it's 2 copies. So I'm not going to keep telling you that. But make no mistake about it, these are great cards. Yes, fine, you might want to go and buy another couple of them, but it still gives you a great start. Incidentally, buying 2 of the toolkits will give you a playset of all of these cards, including Crobat. So, something to bear in mind. We've then got 2 copies of Bruno. Now, Bruno's not quite so ubiquitous. That's shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 4. But if you had a Pokemon KO'd last turn, you draw 7 instead. It is, again, a little bit more specialist, but it's also a really, really good card in a whole bunch of decks. Similarly, we got Karina's Focus, which lets you draw until you got 6 cards in your hand. It's a little bit specialized. It's not for every deck, but it's a great draw card. We've got 2 copies of Escape Rope. It's a switch that also makes your opponent switch their active Pokemon, although they get a choice of what they bring up afterwards. And once again, this is not every deck, but this probably is the majority of decks here. It is played in a huge amount of decks. It is a great alternative to Switch. It is frankly a great card, and it's one that you are going to see all over. Evolution Incense is an item card that lets you search for an evolution Pokemon. It's no good in all basic decks, but it sees a lot of play in evolution decks, which are becoming more and more. We've seen them more and more lately. 2 copies of Metal Sorcerer. It attaches a metal energy from your discard pile to one of your bench metal Pokemon. If you are playing or can be playing metal decks, this is an absolute staple. So if you ever want to play a metal deck, this is amazing. I should mention these are all Sword and Shield era cards, which means they will all survive the rotation, which is 2 weeks after this coming out. The only ones that won't are those promo Miss Magius and Sabrina and Bryson, but do remember that they're Sun and Moon era promos, so that makes a lot of sense. 2 copies of Ordinary Rod. It is the best card for recovering Pokemon and energy at the moment. 2 copies of this will usually be enough, to be fair, but it's again a staple in pretty much every deck. 2 copies of Crushing Hammer. Flip a coin if heads, remove an energy. It's a super annoying card, but it sees a bunch of play. 2 copies of Quick Ball that lets you discard a card from your hand and search for a basic Pokemon. I actually did a video about this card for the Pokemon Players Cup 4 that just happened last weekend, because it is that gosh darn good. It actually deserves to be talked about in a Pokemon broadcast as a spotlight video on its own. That's how good it is. 2 copies of Rare Candy. This is just the card that lets you skip evolution. It lets you evolve from a basic right up into a stage 2. If you're playing a stage 2 deck, though there are exceptions, you are almost certainly going to want to play this card. It is a phenomenal card. 2 copies of Level Ball lets you search for any Pokemon with 90 HP or less. Sees a huge amount of play in a huge amount of decks. 2 copies of Switch, and Switch is played in basically every deck, lets you switch your active with one of your bench. As a side note, does make a really nice combo here with Escape Rope, so you've essentially got 2 of each, so that will give you 4 in total as you go, which will honestly largely be as many as you need. 2 copies of Scoop Up Net lets you pick up a non-GX, non-V Pokemon. It's a great card, sees a huge amount of play. 2 copies of Turbo Patch. This is flip a coin, if heads, attach a basic energy from your discard to one of your basic Pokemon. It's a fun card for accelerating energy. Doesn't see a huge amount of play, but it's still kind of cool. 2 copies of Air Balloon, which does see a huge amount of play. This is the one that reduces the retreat cost of the Pokemon it's attached to by 2. And again, along with Switch and Escape Rope, it's just, you've got so many switching options here, it's awesome. 2 copies of Big Charm gives you an extra 30 HP. Has seen more play in the past than it does now, but it's still a cool card. Very similarly, 2 copies of Cape of Toughness gives you an extra 50 HP, but only on basic Pokemon. Sees a bunch of play in basic Pokemon decks. And 2 copies of Telescopic Sight. That's the one that means that attacks that hit the bench do an extra 30 damage, as long as you hit GX or V Pokemon. So those are all your trainer cards, and I think we can agree that that's pretty gosh darned awesome, but we got some special energy here as well. Now, the least exciting of them is Coating Metal Energy. It removes weakness from the metal Pokemon it's attached to. It's fine, but it doesn't see a huge amount of play. Probably will in some metal decks, but shall we say, it's not an absolute staple. It's not the most exciting. We have 2 copies of Single Strike Energy and 2 copies of Rapid Strike Energy. And basically here, if you're playing a Single Strike deck, well, this lets you do an extra 20 damage. And if you're playing a Rapid Strike deck, it's 2 energy in 1. It's not always going to be relevant for Pokemon like Malamar that are single energy attackers. But outside of that, it really is a phenomenal pair of cards. So yeah, if you're playing single and rapid strike decks, it is extremely likely that you will end up wanting to play these cards. And then finally, 2 copies of Capture Energy. You attach it to one of your Pokemon, and then you get to search for a basic and bench it. Sees a lot of play in a whole bunch of decks, because it lets you get extra Pokemon out and adds consistency while also providing energy. That's a very good thing. Here's everything as a whole made up by the lovely Alpha Tyrant TCG, and frankly, this is great. This is brilliant. Like I've said, there are going to be a bunch of you out there that look at this and go, well, I've got all those cards, and if you have, maybe you want it for the promos, maybe the Alternate Art Crobat, maybe the sleeves or the 4 packs, or maybe you want to skip it, and if you want to skip it, that's fine. But if you're a newer player, a casual player, a lapsed player, whatever, if you can look at all the cards on this screen and don't have a playset of them, this is just a phenomenal kit. Because remember, with Pokemon, a lot of the cores of most of the decks look basically the same. Most decks play 4 Professor's Research, 4 Marnie, 2 to 4 Boss's Orders, 4 Quick Ball, 1 or 2 Ordinary Rod, a bunch of switches, etc. So if you get these kits, it is going to give you the basis for the majority of decks. It is frankly absolutely brilliant, and we should all be very, very excited. This is great. Okay, I think I've made my point. But now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to hear from you guys. I want to know how good you think these are, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.